The world is full of secrets, quiet, gentle whispers carried by the wind, the kind that touch only those who listen carefully. The seasons, as they turn, are like the slow breath of the earth, inhaling and exhaling in a rhythmic dance that has been unfolding for eons. Have you ever wondered how the earth seems to pause and breathe in time with the rising and setting of the sun? Or why the flowers that bloom in spring always know when to open their petals? There is a secret to it all, hidden in plain sight, a pattern so delicate that even the wind itself could scarcely notice. When spring arrives, the trees seem to sigh in relief, stretching after a long winter sleep. The air is lighter, filled with the scent of new growth, of green buds unfurling. Beneath the surface of the soil, unseen by human eyes, life stirs as roots extend, searching for the nourishment they need to feed the branches that will soon reach for the sky. The quiet transformation from the barren gray of winter to the vibrant greens of spring happens as if by magic, but it is simply a natural rhythm, a pull that no one can resist. The temperature shifts imperceptibly at first, like the softest of whispers, and with it, the world begins to breathe again. The days grow longer, the sun begins to linger a little longer, and with each passing moment, the earth reveals a little more of itself to us. In those first weeks of spring, if you are quiet enough, you can hear the rustling of the leaves as they awaken from their slumber. They don't just grow, they sing. Every leaf, every blade of grass, every budding flower is part of a secret song, a chorus of life, singing softly to the sky. The wind, which carries the scent of blooming jasmine and fresh-cut grass, dances through the trees, weaving its way through the branches like a gentle lullaby. It tells a story that only the trees and the flowers know, a story of renewal and rebirth. And as you listen, you begin to feel that secret too, deep in your bones. The seasons are not just a change in weather. They are a reminder of the quiet power that lies within the earth and within ourselves. Summer arrives on the back of that spring wind, bringing with it the fullness of the year's promise. The days stretch lazily, holding the warmth of the sun for longer hours. In the height of summer, everything seems to be at its peak, vibrant and alive. But there's more to it than just the heat and light. The air hums with life, and in that hum, there is a quiet, unspoken truth. It is the secret of energy and stillness combined, of motion that is not frantic but deliberate, steady like the gentle hum of a summer breeze. The plants that began their journey in spring have now reached their fullest expression, their leaves darker and their flowers at their peak bloom. And yet, the world still moves with a quiet, steady rhythm, as if nothing is in a hurry. The earth moves at its own pace, and everything in it follows suit. As the sun begins to tilt lower in the sky, the evenings grow cooler, and a sense of peace settles over the world. This is the beginning of autumn, the time when the leaves begin to change. But before they fall, they put on their finest display, a final burst of color that is both beautiful and fleeting. It is a reminder that everything has its season, and that change, though inevitable, can be a thing of wonder. The trees, which once seemed so full of life, begin to release their leaves, as though to let go of the old and make room for the new. There is wisdom in this quiet surrender, a truth that we too must remember. In letting go, we make space for what is to come. The days grow shorter, and the light begins to fade more quickly. The air is cooler now, crisp with the promise of winter. But even in this shift, there is something beautiful. The change of season is a reminder that time moves in cycles, that nothing stays the same forever. Just as the trees shed their leaves, so too must we shed the old parts of ourselves to make way for the new. The secret of autumn is one of acceptance, of embracing the beauty of transformation, and finding peace in the knowledge that everything has a time and place in the cycle of life. And then, winter comes. It doesn't arrive with a loud, dramatic entrance. Rather, it slips in quietly, like a whispered secret. The world, which was once so full of color and light, now seems to rest. The trees stand tall, their branches bare, as if to say that even in stillness, there is strength. The air is crisp and cold, and everything around us seems to pause, as though the world itself is holding its breath. But this is not a time of emptiness. Beneath the snow, the earth is still alive, preparing for the next cycle. The world is not dead, only sleeping, and soon enough, the first stirrings of spring will begin once more. Winter, with its quiet beauty, is the season of rest, of renewal in its most subtle form. It teaches us that rest is not a luxury, but a necessity. The earth knows that it cannot give everything at once, and so it rests in the cold of winter, waiting for the warmth of spring to return. And in that stillness, we find a kind of peace, the kind that comes when we learn to slow down, to breathe in rhythm with the world around us. As the days begin to lengthen once more, the earth stirs with the first whispers of spring, and we are reminded that all things move in cycles, that each season brings with it its own unique gift. The 4 seasons are not just a way the earth marks time. They are a reminder of the quiet, unspoken rhythms that govern all life. From the first breath of spring to the last sigh of winter, the world moves in a dance that is both ancient and ever new. And in that dance, we find ourselves, moving in harmony with the natural world, discovering the hidden truths that lie within each change, each transformation, each gentle moment of quiet revelation. As the story of the seasons unfolds, we come to understand that every change, every shift, is part of a larger story, one that is unfolding around us and within us. And as the seasons change, so do we, in ways both subtle and profound, always moving forward, always finding new ways to grow, to rest, and to begin again. As the warmth of spring deepens, the world seems to exhale a gentle sigh. The buds that were so timid in their first moments now unfurl with greater confidence, as though the earth herself has stretched and yawned after a long slumber. The soft green tendrils reach for the sunlight with a quiet determination, and each one tells a secret. The green that spreads across the land in spring is not just a color, it is the world's own quiet renewal, the very foundation of life as we know it. Plants in their earliest moments perform a miracle of sorts, using sunlight to create the energy that sustains all life. This process, called photosynthesis, is something that happens without any fanfare or recognition, but it is the reason the world feels alive again. Through the leaves of each tree and vine, the earth takes in sunlight and transforms it into the energy that flows through the veins of every living thing. It's a delicate dance, a secret ritual that no one sees, but it's the very heartbeat of the world. As spring deepens, something curious happens beneath our feet. The ground, so cold and hard just weeks before, now feels alive with the secret stirrings of new life. Roots that once lay dormant now stretch and twist, seeking nourishment in the form of water, minerals, and the quiet hum of the earth's energy. It's in the roots of the plants that the hidden life of spring begins. Below the surface, the earth's secret network of roots connects one plant to another, forming a delicate, unseen web of life that sustains the whole. Through this web, plants share resources, communicate, and support one another in ways that humans are only beginning to understand. There is a deep interconnectedness to all things, and in the spring, we are reminded of this invisible bond that ties us all to the land. In the warmer hours of spring, you may notice the insects, too, awakening. They, too, seem to emerge from slumber, drawn to the blooming flowers, the newly warmed air, and the promise of the season. The bees, with their quiet hum, work tirelessly, flitting from flower to flower, collecting pollen and ensuring the continuation of life. The honeybee, though small, plays an essential role in the delicate balance of nature. As it moves from bloom to bloom, it carries with it the gift of pollination, transferring pollen from one flower to another, helping them to reproduce. This act of pollination, often unnoticed, is one of the most important processes in the natural world. Without the bees and other pollinators, many of the plants that sustain us would not thrive. Their work is a quiet miracle, one that goes on without applause, but which we cannot live without. Summer, in its fullness, brings with it a kind of majesty. The sun, now high in the sky, casts its warm light over the earth, coaxing everything into its fullest expression. Flowers bloom with an abandon, stretching wide their petals to drink in the sunlight, and the air is filled with the scent of growth. But what may seem like a time of abundant life is also a time of quiet preparation. In the deep heat of summer, many of the plants are storing energy, gathering resources for the days when the warmth fades and the world shifts. Even as we enjoy the sun's embrace, the plants, animals, and insects are working quietly, storing for the future, preparing for the change that will inevitably come. It is a lesson in patience, in the quiet art of gathering strength when the world is at its brightest. Everything that flourishes in summer is also quietly preparing for the inevitable rest that follows. It is in the evenings, when the heat of the day begins to fade, that the magic of summer truly unfolds. The air grows cooler, and the colors of the sky change, deepening into shades of pink and orange, and then into purple and blue. This transition from day to night is a moment of quiet awe, a reminder that every day, no matter how long, comes to an end. The world begins to rest, not with force, but with grace, as the sun sinks lower in the sky. This gentle fading of light is one of the great mysteries of nature. We watch the sun set, knowing that it will rise again, yet there is something in that transition that speaks to the heart. It is as though the earth herself is reminding us that nothing lasts forever, that even in our brightest moments, there is always a time for quiet rest. As summer moves slowly toward autumn, the first hints of change begin to appear. The days, though still warm, are no longer as long as they once were. The sun, once high in the sky, begins to sit lower on the horizon, and the air, while still pleasant, carries with it a coolness that wasn't there before. It's a subtle change, one that could easily be overlooked, but if you're still enough, you'll feel it in the air. the shift towards something new. The trees, which have stood so proud and full of life throughout the summer, begin to take on a different color. It's as though they are preparing for the quiet of winter, donning their coats of gold and red in a final burst of color before the world slows down. These changes, though gradual, are not to be ignored. They carry with them the quiet wisdom of the earth, a reminder that even in the fullness of life, there is always a turning inward, a moment of reflection before the next phase begins. Autumn, when it finally arrives in full, brings with it a sense of calm. The leaves fall one by one, as though they are letting go of the old to make room for the new. There is a peace in this process, a quiet surrender that comes not from weakness, but from understanding. The leaves do not fight the wind that calls them to the ground. Instead, they fall gracefully, knowing that this is part of their cycle. They understand that they too are part of something much larger than themselves, that in letting go, they make space for the new growth that will come in spring. The trees, stripped of their leaves, stand bare, but they are not empty. Beneath the surface, their roots remain strong, storing the energy that will sustain them through the winter. The trees are not dead. They are simply waiting, as they always have, for the next cycle to begin. In this quiet time, when the earth seems to rest, we too are reminded that rest is essential. There is wisdom in the quiet of autumn, in the gentle fading of the days and the release of the old. The change of seasons is not just about the weather, it is about the rhythms of life itself. Just as the trees let go of their leaves, so must we sometimes let go of the things that no longer serve us, making room for the new, the fresh, the unknown. The secret of autumn is one of peace and acceptance. It teaches us that change can be beautiful, even when it requires letting go of the past. And in that letting go, we make space for the new growth that is yet to come. The earth is quiet now, waiting for winter, but there is no hurry. The seasons move in their own time, and we too are part of that quiet flow. As autumn settles into its full embrace, a sense of stillness begins to grow, like the soft weight of a blanket slowly drawing over the earth. The days grow shorter still, and the air becomes rich with the scent of earth and wood. It is a time when everything seems to slow down, as if the world itself is inhaling deeply, savoring the last moments of warmth before the cold arrives. The trees, now stripped of their vibrant leaves, stand tall and quiet, their branches reaching toward the heavens in a gesture of silent strength. Their bark, once hidden beneath a curtain of foliage, now stands exposed, textured and weathered, carrying with it the stories of years past. They are not bare. No, they are full of life beneath the surface. Roots stretch deep into the earth, still alive, still growing in the unseen, preparing for the frost to come. Autumn is a time of quiet preparation. It is a moment when the earth begins to draw inward, gathering its strength for the cold months ahead. The animals too know this time well. Squirrels gather acorns, the last burst of activity before the stillness of winter arrives. They do not rush, but rather move with a gentle certainty, knowing that each acorn they store is a gift for the future. In the quiet of the forest, everything feels purposeful, as though every leaf that falls, every seed that is planted, is part of an ancient plan that unfolds slowly, with perfect timing. There is no hurry in nature, no sense of urgency. The world moves in its own time, in its own rhythm, and in this movement, there is a peace that washes over everything. As the first frost begins to touch the tips of the trees and the air grows crisper, there is a subtle shift. Winter's breath is near, and with it comes a sense of quiet anticipation. It is as if the earth is holding its breath, waiting for the moment when the snow will fall and cover everything in a blanket of white. The shift is gentle, almost imperceptible, but it is there. The animals retreat to their burrows, the birds fly south, and the world begins to settle into the stillness that marks the beginning of winter. There is a quiet beauty in this transition. It is as though the world is drawing back to rest, allowing the quiet of winter to fill the spaces that once pulsed with life. And then, as if in response to this hush, winter arrives. It does not announce itself with fanfare, but rather with a soft whisper, the gentle touch of frost creeping across the land. Snowflakes fall, delicate and unique, each one a tiny miracle, a perfect reflection of the balance and symmetry that exists in the universe. The world is transformed in an instant, as though the earth itself has put on a white cloak to rest. There is something magical in the way the snow settles, covering everything in its path, turning the world into a quiet, still landscape. The trees, though bare, stand proudly, their limbs adorned with layers of snow, holding their branches aloft as if they are proud of the quiet strength they possess. The world is at rest, and in that stillness, there is peace. Winter is a time of reflection, of inner quiet, and of preparation. Though the world seems still, beneath the surface, life continues. The earth is not dormant, merely resting, waiting for the warmth of spring to return. The snow, so cold and silent, holds within it the promise of new life. Beneath the frozen ground, seeds wait, wrapped in the warmth of the earth, knowing that when the time is right, they will begin to stir once more. It is in winter's stillness that we find the deepest lessons. Lessons of patience, of quiet strength, and of the quiet power of waiting. The world may seem asleep, but it is simply gathering energy for what is to come. The beauty of winter lies in its ability to show us the hidden rhythms of nature. Rhythms that we often overlook when the world is alive with the noise of spring and summer. In the cold, clear air, the world feels more transparent, more open. The stars above shine brighter, their light more visible against the backdrop of the dark winter sky. There is something peaceful about the stillness of winter nights, a quietness that invites reflection, that calls us to pause and simply be. The world moves at a slower pace, and in this slowness, there is a kind of peace that is hard to find in other seasons. As the weeks of winter pass, the light begins to shift once more. The days lengthen ever so slowly, and with each passing day, the promise of spring begins to whisper through the air. It is subtle at first, just the faintest hint of warmth on a late afternoon, the faintest rustle of life beneath the snow. These are the first stirrings of spring, the quiet signals that life is about to awaken once more. And though the snow still lies heavy on the ground, there is an undeniable sense of change in the air. The earth, ever patient, is preparing to shed its winter coat and emerge once more into the light. It is during these quiet days of winter, as the world seems to sleep, that we are reminded of the cycles of life. Winter, in its stillness, teaches us the value of rest, of stillness, of waiting for the right moment to act. Just as the trees stand bare, waiting for the first signs of warmth to return, so too must we sometimes stand still, allowing ourselves time to gather strength for the moments that lie ahead. In the quiet of winter, we learn to embrace the silence, to rest in the knowledge that the world and all its cycles will continue as they always have in their own time. And as the days grow longer and the first signs of spring begin to appear, we are reminded once again of the beauty of nature's rhythms. The earth, so patient and so wise, moves in its own time, its cycles unfolding as they have for millions of years. And in that unfolding, we are reminded that we too are part of something much larger than ourselves. The seasons, with their quiet beauty and their gentle shifts, offer us the chance to reflect, to rest, and to prepare for the changes that will come. In the gentle rhythm of the four seasons, we find the quiet wisdom that guides all things: life, death, rebirth, unfolding in perfect harmony. Winter has settled deeply now, the world beneath its blanket of snow holding its breath in a tranquil silence. The days are short, the nights long, and the air, though still, carries a crispness that seems to echo through every tree and stone. In the quiet of this frozen world, something shifts ever so subtly. Beneath the thick layer of snow, the earth is not dead, only resting, patiently waiting for the warmth that will awaken it. The seeds, deep in the soil, still hold their potential, their promise of life locked within them, wrapped in the cool, dark earth. They are not forgotten, though the world above seems to be in a deep slumber. There is an ancient rhythm to the passing of seasons, a rhythm that does not hurry but instead unfolds gently, as if time itself is breathing in and out with the world. The stillness of winter is but a pause, a moment to gather strength, for spring is always waiting just behind the horizon, ready to awaken the earth. The quiet frost that coats the branches like lace is not an end, but a quiet preparation for the renewal that is to come. The bare trees, though they appear to be lifeless, are full of potential. Their roots are alive, their trunks steady and strong, preparing to burst into new life when the moment arrives. And then, one day, the first sign of change comes. It is so subtle at first that it is easy to overlook: a faint warmth in the air, a softening of the winds. It is the whisper of spring, the beginning of something new. The snow, once so thick and heavy, begins to melt, not in a rush, but in the gentlest of drips, as if the world is waking up slowly, stretching its limbs and blinking into the light. The sound of melting snow trickling down the earth is like a soft lullaby, a reminder that life is returning, gently but surely. The world begins to hum again, but it is a quiet hum, the kind that carries with it the promise of new growth, of renewal. Beneath the surface of the thawing earth, life begins to stir. The roots of trees, still deep in the ground, begin to reach toward the water that is slowly seeping into the soil. The seeds, which have been resting in the dark, cool earth for months, begin to wake, feeling the gentle warmth of the world above. This slow awakening is not hurried, but rather filled with grace, as though the earth herself is savoring the moment, letting every detail unfold with quiet precision. It is a time of patience, of waiting for the moment when everything will come into bloom. Spring will not rush its arrival. It will come in its own time, just as it always has. As the days lengthen, a subtle change begins to take place in the air. The coolness that once hung in the sky softens, and the sun, though still gentle, begins to shine with more strength. The earth, bathed in the soft light of the early spring sun, begins to thaw completely, revealing the bare ground beneath. The first shoots of green break through the soil, tiny and fragile at first, but full of promise. They are the first signs of life returning, and they bring with them a sense of wonder, a quiet awe at the resilience of the earth. It is as if the earth is stretching, waking from a long rest, and the world is seeing everything for the first time. The snowdrops, those delicate flowers that bloom in the first light of spring, appear like small whispers against the cold, hard ground. They are the heralds of spring, the first brave souls to step out into the world after winter's long silence. Their white petals seem to glow against the earth, a symbol of hope, of quiet strength. These tiny flowers, though they seem so fragile, carry within them the essence of the season to come. They are the first notes of a song that will soon fill the air, the first brush strokes of a painting that is slowly coming to life. And though they are small, they remind us that even the smallest of things can carry great meaning. As the weeks pass, the air grows warmer and the world begins to blossom. The trees, which have stood bare through the winter, begin to bud once again. The branches, once empty, now hold the promise of leaves, of flowers, of fruit. The world begins to fill with the sound of birdsong, the chorus of creatures who have returned to the earth to greet the warmth. The sky seems to stretch wider, and the sun lingers a little longer, as though it too is savoring the return of life. The world, once again, is awake. Spring is a time of transition, a time of quiet wonder. It is a season of growth, but also of subtle change. The colors that have been absent from the landscape throughout the winter begin to return. The green of the grass, the yellow of the daffodils, the pink of the cherry blossoms, all begin to emerge in their own time. These colors, so soft and yet so vibrant, seem to paint the world in new hues, and as they do, they bring with them a sense of hope, of new beginnings. The earth is not the same as it was in the winter. It has shed its old skin and emerged into something new, something full of potential. And yet, even as the earth awakens, there is still a quietness to spring. It is not the loud, bustling energy of summer, but rather a soft, steady growth. There is something peaceful in the way the world unfolds in spring, a reminder that growth does not always come with great fanfare. Sometimes, the most beautiful things in life are the ones that appear quietly, almost unnoticed, as if they are waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. Spring teaches us the value of patience, of allowing things to unfold in their own time. It reminds us that growth is not always immediate. Sometimes it happens in small, subtle ways, beneath the surface, out of sight. It is a season of quiet beginnings, of seeds planted and nurtured, of life returning with gentle persistence. And as the earth comes alive, we are reminded that we too are part of this great cycle, that we too have the capacity to grow, to change, to bloom. As the warmth of spring settles deeper into the land, the world is transformed. The grass grows tall and lush. The flowers bloom in a riot of color, and the air is filled with the scent of new life. And in that transformation, there is a quiet magic, a reminder that change is constant, and that with every season, there is always the opportunity for renewal. In the gentle unfolding of spring, we are reminded that no matter how long the winter, no matter how deep the cold, there is always the promise of warmth, of growth, and of new beginnings. As the days lengthen and the warmth of spring deepens, the world begins to pulse with life. The air is full of the sound of birdsong, the soft rustle of leaves, and the delicate hum of insects moving through the air. The earth, once quiet and still, now seems to be alive with a quiet, steady energy. The trees, which have slowly stretched and grown since the first hint of warmth, now stand tall and proud, their leaves unfurling in soft shades of green. The flowers that once peeped shyly above the soil now open in full bloom, their petals unfurling like delicate hands reaching for the sun. Every corner of the earth seems to be awakening, stretching toward the light with a grace that is both effortless and profound. In the early mornings, when the air is still cool and the sun is just beginning to rise, there is a stillness that wraps around the world. It is the kind of quiet that only exists in spring, when the earth has fully awoken, but the warmth of summer has not yet fully arrived. The dew on the grass catches the light, sparkling like tiny diamonds scattered across the earth. The first rays of the sun gently warm the ground, coaxing the flowers to open their faces to the light. There is a softness to the morning, a delicate peace that feels almost sacred. It is as if the world itself is taking a deep breath, savoring the stillness before the day fully begins. This is the time when nature's quiet rhythm is most apparent. The earth, though full of life, moves with a kind of patience, as though every leaf that grows, every flower that blooms, is unfolding at just the right moment. There is no rush, no urgency. The world is unfolding at its own pace, and in this gentle unfolding, there is a deep wisdom. The quiet, steady growth of spring reminds us that all things come in their own time, that life's most beautiful moments often come slowly, softly, and without fanfare. The air in spring feels different too. It is lighter, infused with the scent of fresh earth, of blossoms, of rain that has recently fallen. Every breath seems to carry with it the promise of renewal, of fresh starts and new beginnings. It is the season of growth, not just in the plants, but in ourselves. The energy of spring is the energy of possibility. It is the moment when everything feels as though it could bloom, if only we allow ourselves to grow. The gentle warmth of the sun, the soft breeze that rustles through the trees, and the ever-changing sky above. All of these elements combine to create a sense of boundless potential. And as we watch the earth bloom, we are reminded that we too are capable of growth, of change, of becoming something new. But even in the fullness of spring, there is a quietness that remains. As the flowers bloom and the trees fill out their leaves, there's a sense of calm beneath the surface of all this energy. The earth's pulse is steady, like a heartbeat, not fast or frantic, but deep and constant. The wind moves through the branches, carrying with it the fragrance of blossoms, but it does not rush. It moves with a purpose, yet it is gentle, like a soft touch, guiding the trees to sway and the flowers to dance in its breeze. The sky above is vast, a canvas painted in soft blues and grays, never too heavy, always light, always shifting. Spring, though a season of great energy and growth, also carries within it a quiet gentleness, a peace that can only be found when we stop to listen. The creatures of the earth are also waking in their own way. The birds, which have been migrating for months, now return to their homes, filling the sky with their calls. they sing songs of joy, of return, of the homecoming that spring brings. The insects, too, are busy once again. Bees, butterflies, and dragonflies flit from flower to flower, their movements purposeful yet serene. The earth is alive, but not in a chaotic way. There is a harmony to it all, a quiet balance that keeps everything in its place, moving in the rhythm of the seasons. There is no hurry, no striving for more than what is needed. Everything moves in its own time, guided by the deep wisdom of nature. As the days continue to warm, the world becomes a place of color and light. The grasses grow thick and green, the flowers bloom in every shade imaginable, and the trees fill out their leaves, creating a canopy of green that stretches over the land. The world, once quiet and still, now seems to pulse with energy. But it is not a frantic energy. It is the energy of growth, of life flourishing in the way that it was always meant to. The earth has had its rest, and now it is alive with the fullness of spring's embrace. The promise of new life is all around, and with it comes a sense of hope, of possibility, and of quiet joy. In the evenings, as the sun begins to dip below the horizon, there is a soft warmth in the air. The light grows golden, casting long shadows across the fields and forests, and the world seems to settle into a peaceful rhythm. The sounds of the day begin to quiet, and a sense of calm falls over everything. The birds have stopped singing, the insects have gone into their nests, and the world is still once more. But this stillness is not the quiet of winter. It is the stillness of contentment, of a day well lived. The air is warm, the earth is alive, and the world has found its peace. Spring, in all its fullness, is a reminder that life moves in cycles, and that even after the coldest winters, there is always the promise of renewal. It teaches us that growth does not come in bursts, but in steady, patient unfolding. The quiet beauty of spring lies not in the grand gestures, but in the small, subtle changes that happen every day. The soft opening of a flower, the gentle rustling of leaves, the slow, steady growth of a tree. These are the miracles of spring, and they happen all around us every day in the quiet spaces between the louder moments. And as we witness these moments, we too are reminded that we too have the capacity to grow, to change, to become something new. And so, spring continues to unfold, gently, slowly, with grace. The world is alive with the colors, sounds, and scents of life returning, but there is no hurry. Everything happens in its own time. There is a quiet wisdom in this, a reminder that life is not about rushing from one moment to the next, but about embracing each moment for what it is, a quiet unfolding of something beautiful and new. And in that unfolding, there is peace. As the warmth of spring settles deeper into the world, the earth begins to bloom in every direction. The trees, their branches now full of leaves, stretch toward the sky, their green canopies creating a gentle, protective umbrella over the land. The flowers, once timid and small, now open in full, vibrant splendor, their colors spreading across the landscape like a painter's brushstroke. The air is rich with the fragrance of fresh blossoms, the scent of jasmine, lilac, and rose, each one carrying its own quiet story. And in this blooming, there is a sense of hope that fills the world, a feeling that, after every pause, after every quiet moment, life finds a way to come back, to return stronger than before. The gentle rhythm of spring continues, its quiet pulse felt in every blade of grass, every leaf that unfurls, and every petal that opens. The world seems to be in perfect harmony with itself, moving not in haste but in patience, allowing each moment to unfold at its own pace. The warmth of the sun, the coolness of the breeze, and the soft earth beneath our feet, all of these elements combine to create a space of peace, a space where everything feels balanced and alive. It is as if the earth itself is breathing in time with the rising and setting of the sun, its pulse steady and sure. Beneath the surface of the soil, the life of the earth continues its secret dance. The roots of the trees, still deep in the earth, drink in the water that has begun to seep into the ground, nourishing them for the long summer ahead. The soil, rich and dark, is full of life. Worms, insects, and microbes all work together, breaking down the organic matter, creating the rich humus that will feed the plants for years to come. Though we cannot see it, this hidden world is as alive as the trees above, a reminder that much of what sustains us is unseen, working quietly beneath the surface. It is in this invisible, unseen world that the foundations of growth are laid. As the days continue to lengthen and the earth's pulse grows stronger, something deeper stirs within us. The rhythm of the earth, so steady and true, begins to awaken something inside. It is a call to live fully, to embrace the potential of the season, to step into the warmth of the world and let it fill us with the energy that it brings. Spring is not just a season of the earth, it is a season of the spirit, too. It is a time when we are invited to shed the weight of the past, to release the things that no longer serve us, and to move forward into the light with an open heart. There is a quiet power in this, a power that comes from the steady unfolding of life around us and within us. And yet, despite all this growth, there is a peace that runs through the season. Spring does not rush. The flowers do not force themselves to bloom, nor do the trees hurry to grow. Everything unfolds in its own time, in its own way, and this quiet patience is one of the most profound gifts that spring offers. In a world that often feels hurried, that constantly urges us to move faster, spring reminds us that there is beauty in stillness, in waiting, in allowing things to unfold naturally. It teaches us that we need not force our own growth, but can trust that, in time, we will bloom in our own way, in our own season. The days now feel full, but not overwhelming. There is a lightness to them, a sense of being fully present in each moment. The sun, now warm and constant, fills the sky with light, and the earth, alive with color, reflects that light back into the world. The rivers, once slow and cold, now flow with greater strength, their waters warm and full of life, carrying the promise of growth and renewal to every corner of the land. The world is full of movement, but it is not a chaotic energy. It is a steady, calm movement, like the flow of a river that knows exactly where it is going, taking its time as it moves toward its destination. As the earth blooms, so too do the creatures of the world. The birds, once silent during the long winter months, now fill the air with their songs, their calls echoing across the fields and forests. The insects, too, are busy once more, buzzing from flower to flower, collecting nectar and pollen, playing their small but vital role in the grand cycle of life. The animals, many of whom have spent the winter in hibernation, now emerge from their burrows, stretching and yawning in the warmth of the sun. The earth is alive, and in its aliveness, there is a quiet joy that fills the world. And yet, spring is not just a time of abundance, it is a time of balance. The rains that come, soft and steady, nourish the earth, but they also bring a sense of calm. They are not a flood, but a gentle shower, a reminder that life's most important moments often come quietly, without the need for fanfare. The rain nourishes the plants, but it also nourishes the soul. There is something deeply soothing in the sound of rain falling softly, a sound that reminds us that even in the busiest of times, we can still find moments of peace, moments of quiet renewal. The rain is a gift, a soft blessing from the sky that encourages everything to grow, to bloom, to reach toward the light. As spring moves forward, there is a sense of anticipation in the air. The earth has begun to flourish, but there is more to come. The fruits of the season have yet to ripen, the flowers have yet to fade, and the world is still in the process of unfolding. The promise of summer is on the horizon, but there is no need to rush toward it. In spring, we learn the beauty of being in the moment, of savoring each day as it comes, knowing that all things will come in their own time. The earth moves at its own pace, and we are invited to move with it, to find our own rhythm in the gentle unfolding of the season. The beauty of spring is not just in the flowers that bloom or the sun that warms the earth. It is in the quiet moments, the gentle transitions, and the steady growth that takes place beneath the surface. It is in the patience of the trees, the persistence of the flowers, and the quiet hum of life that fills the air. Spring teaches us that growth is not always loud. Sometimes it is the softest things, the quietest changes that make the greatest difference. As the warmth of spring settles deeper into the land, the rhythm of life grows more pronounced. The earth, once silent and still beneath the weight of winter, is now a chorus of sounds. Birds fill the sky with their songs, their calls echoing across fields and forests, carrying with them a sense of joy, of return. The air is thick with the scent of new life, of flowers blooming, grass growing, and the earth, once again, teeming with life. There is a lightness to the world now, a sense that everything is aligned with the natural flow, moving in harmony with the turning of the seasons. Each day feels like a gift, unfold its own time, revealing the quiet beauty that lies within each moment. The trees, their leaves now full and lush, stand tall, casting gentle shadows on the earth below. Each branch seems to stretch toward the sun, reaching for the warmth, for the light that nourishes it. The leaves, soft and green, shimmer in the breeze, each one a delicate piece of the earth's great symphony. The rustling of the leaves is like a whisper, a song sung by the trees to the rhythm of the wind. It is a sound that seems to carry a secret, a quiet message from the earth to the sky, a reminder that the world is alive, that growth is happening all around us, both seen and unseen. Beneath the surface, the roots of the trees stretch deep into the earth, drawing up the water and nutrients that sustain the branches above. This silent, unseen work is as important as the branches that reach for the sky. The roots, though hidden from view, are the foundation of life. They anchor the trees to the earth, keeping them steady, strong, even as the wind blows and the storms come. The roots remind us that growth is not always visible at first. Sometimes, the most important changes happen beneath the surface, quietly building strength before they bloom into something beautiful. In the meadows and fields, the wildflowers bloom in a riot of color, their delicate petals reaching for the sun. Each flower, though small, carries within it the power of life, of renewal. The bees, buzzing softly as they flit from bloom to bloom, play their part in the great cycle of life, transferring pollen and ensuring that the flowers can continue to grow. The flowers are not in a hurry. They bloom at their own pace, trusting that the sun and the rain will come when they need it. They teach us the value of patience, of trusting in the process, of knowing that everything unfolds in its own time. In the quiet of the early mornings, when the air is still cool and the world is just beginning to wake, there is a softness to the world that feels almost sacred. The dew on the grass glistens in the first light of day, each drop a tiny reflection of the sky above. The world is still, the birds just beginning to sing their morning song, the leaves barely rustling in the breeze. It is in these moments that we feel the deepest connection to the earth, when the world feels most at peace. There is something deeply comforting in the stillness of the morning, in the quiet that comes before the day fully unfolds. It is a moment to pause, to breathe deeply, and to appreciate the gentle unfolding of life. As the days grow warmer, the earth becomes more vibrant, more alive. The flowers bloom, the trees grow taller, and the grasses sway gently in the breeze. It is as though the world has come into full color, each shade of green, yellow, and purple contributing to a vast and beautiful tapestry. The air is filled with the scent of blossoms, of fresh earth, of the promise of more to come. Every breath feels like a deep inhale of life, a reminder that we too are part of this great unfolding. The earth is full of life, full of possibility, full of hope. The quiet rhythm of spring continues, and with it comes the promise of summer. The earth, having awakened from its long rest, now stretches fully into the light. The warmth of the sun fills the sky, and the days grow longer. The sun lingering in the sky a little longer with each passing day. The world is full of energy, of movement, but it is not chaotic. It is a steady, gentle energy, like the slow but sure movement of a river that knows exactly where it is going. There is no rush in nature, no hurry. Everything unfolds in its own time, with a quiet assurance that all will come as it should. In the cool of the evening, when the sun begins to set and the world is bathed in the soft light of twilight, there is a peacefulness that settles over the land. The world seems to breathe a little slower, as if the earth is resting, savoring the beauty of the day that has passed. The sky, now tinged with pinks and purples, stretches above the earth, a vast canvas of color. The air is soft, the world quiet, and for a moment, everything feels right. This is the time when the world seems to pause, taking a deep breath before the night falls. The stars begin to appear in the sky, their light distant but steady, like quiet beacons of hope. And as the world settles into the rhythm of the night, there is a sense of deep peace, of quiet understanding that everything is as it should be. The earth, having come through the long, cold winter, is now full of life, full of growth, full of possibility. The seasons have turned, and with each turn, there is the promise of renewal. Spring, though fleeting, reminds us that life is constantly changing, constantly unfolding, constantly renewing itself. There is beauty in this, in the quiet unfolding of life, and in the knowledge that just like the earth, we too can always begin again. As the last breath of spring fades into the warmth of summer, there is a shift in the air. The earth, once soft and cool beneath our feet, now feels warm, welcoming, as though the sun's embrace is both a gift and a promise. The gentle pace of spring, with its quiet growth and unfolding life, gives way to the fullness of summer, a time when everything seems to stand in its peak, basking in the golden light that bathes the world. The days stretch long, holding the warmth of the sun a little longer, and as the sun climbs higher, the earth seems to respond in kind, stretching taller, reaching further into the light. The trees, now heavy with leaves, stand proud and full, their branches swaying softly in the summer breeze. The once fragile green leaves now seem solid, their edges sharp and bright, reaching for the light as though to drink in every last drop. The rustling of the leaves is no longer a soft whisper, but a steady, gentle hum, a sound that carries through the air, a sound that speaks of life in its most abundant form. It is as though the world has come alive in the fullest way, and every leaf, every petal, every blade of grass is part of this grand, vibrant song. In the fields and meadows, the flowers that once bloomed with delicate shyness now open wide, their colors rich and full, a tapestry of life unfolding in every direction. The bees, busy with their work, flit from bloom to bloom, collecting pollen, carrying life from one flower to the next. The air hums with their quiet purpose, and in that hum, there is a sense of energy, of movement, of life that flows in an endless, beautiful cycle. The flowers, though they may be small, are never insignificant. Their presence is vital, their beauty undeniable. They are the messengers of the earth, the symbols of its strength and its resilience, showing us that even the smallest things can hold the greatest power. The heat of summer, though present, is not harsh. It is a warmth that wraps around us like a soft blanket, filling the air with a sense of fullness, of being fully alive. The warmth of the sun touches everything it meets, but it does so with care, with the understanding that it is a part of the cycle, a part of something much larger than itself. The earth drinks in the heat, and in return, it gives back a bounty of life. Fruit ripens on the trees, vegetables push up from the earth, and the world is filled with the promise of harvest. Summer is not a rush to be quick, to hurry, but a time to savor, to enjoy the fullness of the moment, to take in every drop of sunlight before the seasons begin to shift again. The rhythm of summer is steady, almost unchanging. The sun rises early and sets late, casting long shadows over the fields and forests, bathing the world in a golden light. The heat, though warm, is never overwhelming, for there is always a soft breeze that follows, a reminder that the earth never stays still, but moves with its own gentle rhythm. The grass, now thick and green, sways in the breeze, and the birds, their songs now full and rich, sing not in the quiet of dawn, but in the fullness of the day. It is a time when the world feels complete, when everything has reached its peak, and yet there is still a sense of peace, of calm, that underlies the energy of the season. In the evenings, as the sun dips lower in the sky, the world seems to breathe a little slower, as if to savor the last moments of daylight before the night falls. The colors of the sky shift, the golden light softening into shades of pink, purple, and orange, casting a warm glow over the earth. The air cools, but only gently, as the day's warmth lingers, wrapping around the earth like a quiet hug. The sounds of the day, of insects buzzing, of birds calling, of the wind rustling through the trees, begin to fade, replaced by the soft sounds of the night. It is a time of quiet reflection, of taking a moment to appreciate the fullness of the day, knowing that the world will continue to move, continue to grow, as it always has. Summer, though full of energy, is also a time of quiet contemplation. It is a time when the world moves at its own pace, when everything seems to be in perfect alignment with the rhythm of the earth. The days may be long, but they are never rushed. There is no sense of hurry in summer. The sun, in its quiet power, reminds us to slow down, to take our time, to savor the fullness of the season. It is a time when we are invited to embrace the present moment, to feel the warmth of the sun on our skin, to listen to the song of the birds, to breathe in the scent of fresh flowers and earth. Summer, in its fullness, teaches us to appreciate the beauty of the world, to take in all that it has to offer, and to rest in the knowledge that, just as the earth moves through its seasons, so too can we move through our own cycles of growth, rest, and renewal. And as the days stretch into weeks, and the summer's warmth lingers in the air, there is a sense of calm that settles over the land. The earth, though full of life, moves with a kind of quiet grace. The sun, though bright and strong, does not force its warmth, but gives it freely, allowing all things to grow and flourish in their own time. The rhythm of summer continues, steady and sure, and in that rhythm, there is a deep peace. Summer, though full of life, is not chaotic. It is not a time of hurry or rush, but of quiet abundance, of patience, of savoring the simple beauty that life offers. The days may grow hotter, but the warmth is gentle, never overwhelming. The earth in all its fullness is alive, and we too are invited to be a part of that life. As the days stretch on and summer begins to take its leave, there is a subtle shift in the air. The sun, though still warm, no longer lingers quite as long in the sky. The breeze, once hot and heavy, now carries a coolness, a reminder that the earth is preparing for the transition that lies ahead. The heat of summer, though still present, begins to soften, as if the earth is slowly exhaling, releasing the tension of the long, vibrant days. The trees, their leaves still full and green, seem to stand a little taller, their branches swaying gently in the breeze, as if they too are pausing, taking a moment before the inevitable change that is coming. The rhythm of the world seems to slow just a little. The days no longer as frantic in their movement. The sun rises later in the morning and sets earlier in the evening, stretching the hours between light and dark with a quiet elegance. There is a softness to the air now, a sense of quiet anticipation. The heat that once ruled the day is now tempered by the coolness of evening, and the world seems to sigh, settling into the calm that autumn always brings. The earth, though still alive with the fullness of summer, begins to turn inward, preparing for the quieter days ahead. In the fields and meadows, the flowers that once bloomed so brightly now begin to fade, their petals curling and falling, returning to the earth that gave them life. The grasses, once tall and green, now turn golden, their tops bending under the weight of the season's harvest. There is something beautiful in this transition, in the way the earth moves from abundance to rest, from light to shadow, from warmth to cool. The world, though still alive with color, begins to shift, ever so gently, toward the rich hues of autumn. It is as if the earth is drawing in its energy, preparing for the quiet of winter, when the world will rest once more. The trees, though still full of life, begin to show the first signs of the change that is to come. Their leaves, once bright green, begin to turn shades of yellow, orange, and red, as if the earth is painting them with the colors of the setting sun. It is a quiet transformation, one that happens slowly, almost imperceptibly. But when it is complete, the world is bathed in a golden light, the colors of the leaves glowing in the soft light of the autumn sun. The trees, though they seem to be letting go of their leaves, are not empty. Beneath the surface, their roots remain strong, feeding the earth, preparing for the quiet time ahead. The animals, too, feel the shift in the air. The squirrels scurry through the trees, gathering acorns and preparing for the cold months ahead. The birds, having sung their songs through the long days of summer, now begin to prepare for their migration, heading south to warmer lands. There is a sense of urgency in their movements, but it is not hurried or frantic. It is the calm urgency that comes with knowing that change is inevitable and that it is time to move with the rhythm of the world, to prepare for what lies ahead. The creatures of the earth are in tune with the shifting of the seasons, moving with quiet purpose as they gather the strength they will need for the colder months. As the days grow shorter and the air grows cooler, there is a peacefulness that settles over the land. The sun, though still strong in the middle of the day, now sets with a soft glow, casting long shadows across the earth. The world seems to rest in this soft light, as though it, too, is taking a moment to pause, to reflect on the fullness of the year. The earth, though still vibrant, is preparing for the quiet rest that will come with winter. The harvest has been gathered, the flowers have bloomed and faded, and now the world begins to turn inward, to rest, to prepare for the long sleep of winter. The quiet beauty of autumn lies in this transition, in the slow, steady change that takes place over time. It is not a dramatic shift, but rather a quiet unfolding, a letting go of the old and making space for the new. The leaves that fall from the trees are not discarded. They return to the earth, becoming part of the soil that will nourish the next generation of life. The flowers that fade give way to the seeds that will rest in the soil, waiting for the warmth of spring to awaken them once more. The earth, in its quiet wisdom, understands that every ending is simply the beginning of something new. And in this quiet knowledge, there is a peace that fills the land. In the evenings, as the air cools and the sun sinks lower in the sky, there is a deep sense of calm that settles over everything. The birds have quieted, the insects have disappeared, and the world is still, save for the rustling of the leaves in the breeze. The stars begin to appear, their light distant and steady, and the world seems to breathe a little slower. This is the quiet time, the time when the earth prepares to rest, to gather its strength for the seasons to come. The beauty of autumn lies in this stillness, in the quiet reflection that comes as the world prepares for the next phase of its cycle. Autumn is not a time of chaos or frantic activity, but a time of reflection, of letting go, of quiet anticipation. It is a time when the earth teaches us to slow down, to release the old, and make space for the new. It reminds us that there is beauty in every change, in every cycle, and that even as the world prepares for rest, there is still beauty to be found. The colors of the leaves, the softness of the light, the coolness of the air. All of these are gifts from the earth, reminders that every season has its time, and every change carries with it the promise of something new. And as autumn continues to unfold, we too are reminded to slow down, to reflect on the beauty of the season, and to embrace the quiet moments that come with it. There is no rush, no hurry, only the peaceful unfolding of life as it moves through its cycles. The earth, though it may be shedding its leaves, is not empty. It is full of promise, full of life, full of the quiet wisdom that comes with the changing of the seasons. As the last traces of warmth fade from the earth and the colors of autumn deepen, there is a gentle stillness that settles over the land. The vibrant reds, oranges, and yellows of the trees are slowly replaced by the muted browns and grays of leaves that have fallen to the ground. The earth, now littered with the remnants of a season full of life, seems to pause, as though preparing for the quiet of winter to descend. The days grow shorter and the nights longer, but in the growing darkness, there is a peace, a knowing that the world, though it seems to rest, is still alive beneath the surface. It is a quiet time, a time to gather, to reflect, to prepare for the stillness ahead. The trees, though bare now, are not empty. Beneath the soil, their roots still grow, still stretch deep into the earth, holding them steady against the coming cold. The earth itself, though covered in a blanket of fallen leaves, is still full of life, waiting patiently for the warmth that will come again. The cycle of life continues, not in a hurry, but at its own pace. And this quiet unfolding of the seasons offers a gentle reminder that time moves in its own way, slowly and steadily. Each leaf that falls, each gust of wind that shakes the branches, is a part of this great rhythm, this steady beat that has been moving through the world for millennia. And in this rhythm, there is peace. As the coolness of late autumn settles deeper into the land, the air becomes crisp and clear, filled with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves. The trees, their branches now bare, stand tall and strong against the sky, their forms stark against the fading light. The sun, though still present, seems softer now, casting a golden glow over the earth, as if to remind us that even as the light fades, it will return again. The world seems to hold its breath, waiting for the first touch of frost, the first sign that winter is on its way. And in this waiting, there is a quiet beauty, a stillness that speaks to something deep within us. The animals, too, sense the shift in the air. The squirrels have gathered their acorns, and the birds that remain are quiet, preparing for the colder months ahead. There is a sense of preparation in the air, a quiet anticipation that fills the world. The creatures of the earth move with purpose now, gathering the food and shelter they will need for the winter, but they do so with a calm that mirrors the stillness of the world around them. There is no rush, no panic, only the steady movement of life, preparing for the inevitable rest that comes with winter. As the first frost begins to touch the earth, there is a quiet magic in the air. The grass, once soft and green, is now tipped with white, the frost glittering in the early morning light like tiny diamonds scattered across the land. The earth, once warm and alive, now feels cool and still, but not empty. Beneath the frozen surface, life continues, moving slowly, gathering strength for the months ahead. The trees, though bare, are not barren. Their roots remain strong, feeding the earth, preparing for the spring that will come once more. The nights, now longer, are filled with the sounds of the world settling in for rest. The wind, once warm and soft, now carries a chill, rustling the remaining leaves and sending them drifting gently to the ground. The air, though cool, is crisp and clean, filled with the scent of the earth and the promise of the coming winter. It is a time of quiet, a time of reflection, a time to gather ourselves as the earth gathers its strength for the seasons to come. There is a quiet wisdom in this time of rest, in the knowledge that after every fall, there is always a rise, that after every darkness, there is always a return to light. Autumn, though fleeting, is a time of deep reflection. It is a time when the earth and we too are invited to pause, to release what no longer serves us, and to prepare for the quiet stillness that winter brings. The leaves that fall, though they are beautiful in their colors, are also a reminder that all things must let go in order to grow again. The earth, in her wisdom, teaches us that there is no shame in rest, no shame in letting go. There is only the gentle rhythm of life, a rhythm that moves through us all, leading us from one season to the next. As the days grow colder and the earth prepares for the winter ahead, there is a peace in the quiet of autumn. The world, though quieter now, is not still. It is simply moving in a different way, preparing for the hibernation that comes with the cold. The air is filled with the last whispers of autumn, the rustling of the leaves, the quiet call of birds flying south, the soft breath of the wind. And in this peaceful time, we are reminded that even in the quietest moments, there is life, there is movement, there is beauty. The world may be slowing down, but it is not stopping. It is simply resting, waiting for the return of warmth, for the return of life. Autumn, though it signals the end of a cycle, is also the beginning of another. It is a time of transformation, of letting go, of preparing for what is to come. It teaches us that change is not something to fear, but something to embrace. In the falling of the leaves, in the fading of the light, there is beauty. There is peace. And as the world settles into the quiet of winter, we too can rest, knowing that after every fall, there is always a rise. And after every quiet moment, there is always the promise of new life. As autumn's vibrant colors fade and the world settles into its more muted tones, there is a soft silence that fills the air. The days grow shorter still, and the nights stretch longer, offering a deep, quiet respite that the earth has long been waiting for. The sun, though still present, has softened in its warmth, casting a pale light over the land. The world, which once hummed with the energy of growth and renewal, now rests, gently breathing in the cold, still air. The ground is now covered with fallen leaves, which slowly decay and return to the earth, enriching the soil for the coming year. The trees, though bare of their leaves, stand stoic against the chill, their branches etched against the pale sky. This is a time of stillness, of pause when life is not frantic but at rest. Winter, in its early stages, is a quiet reminder of the importance of rest. The earth, though seemingly asleep, is full of activity beneath the surface. The roots of the trees still stretch deeper into the earth, gathering strength for the coming months. The small creatures that remain, like the squirrels and the rabbits, have prepared their burrows, hoarding food and waiting for the deep cold to arrive. But there is no hurry, no rush. Everything moves at its own pace, slow and steady, just as it always has. There is something deeply comforting in this sense of patience, in the quiet understanding that everything must slow down, that life's rhythms cannot always be hurried. The nights are long now, and as the stars fill the dark sky, there is a certain serenity to the cold that blankets the land. The air, sharp and crisp, carries with it the scent of earth and frost, as if the world itself is breathing in the stillness, drawing in the quiet of winter. The moon, pale and distant, casts its silver light over the world, creating shadows that stretch long across the earth. In this quiet, everything seems suspended in time, as if the world is holding its breath, waiting for the coming of something new. It is in the quiet of winter that we find a different kind of beauty, a beauty not found in vibrant colors or lush greenery, but in the stillness, the purity of the world at rest. The bare trees, their branches heavy with snow, stand like silent sentinels, watching over the land with quiet strength. The snow, which has begun to fall softly from the sky, blankets everything in white, transforming the world into something both familiar and new. The familiar sounds of the earth, the rustling of leaves, the chirping of birds, have faded, and in their place is a silence so deep that it seems to fill the entire world. It is a silence that speaks not of emptiness, but of peacefulness, of the natural order of things. There is a beauty in this quiet, in the way the world seems to rest, knowing that this time, though still, is an essential part of the cycle. Though the earth seems dormant in winter, there is always life beneath the surface. The earth, in its wisdom, knows that after every pause, there is movement again. The snow that covers the land, while it may appear to freeze everything beneath it, is in fact insulating the earth, protecting it from the harsh cold above. Beneath the snow, the seeds are waiting. They are not forgotten. The roots are waiting. They are not idle. Everything is preparing for the moment when the warmth returns, when the cycle of life begins anew. Even in the quiet of winter, there is always the promise of spring. It is this quiet promise, this patience that winter brings. The earth teaches us that even in the times of stillness, we are not stagnant. We are simply waiting, gathering strength for the future. The animals, too, are a part of this rhythm. Many creatures sleep through the colder months, their bodies resting in the quiet warmth of their burrows. Others, like the deer and the fox, move through the snow with grace, their footsteps leaving delicate impressions in the fresh powder. They do not rush, but move with quiet purpose, always in tune with the rhythms of the earth. The wind, though cold and biting, moves through the trees with a soft song, whispering to the land, carrying with it the scent of the winter air. The world, though quiet, is never still. It moves with its own rhythm, its own song, and in this quiet music, there is peace. As winter deepens, the world seems to hold its breath a little longer. The snow falls in soft, swirling flurries, each flake a perfect work of nature, unique in its design. The landscape, once full of color and life, is now wrapped in a cloak of white. A gentle reminder that even in the cold, there is beauty. The branches of the trees, though empty of leaves, are adorned with delicate layers of snow, each one catching the light in a way that transforms the ordinary into something magical. There is something serene in this simplicity, in the way the world becomes quiet and pure under the blanket of winter. In the evenings, as the days grow shorter and the air cooler, there is a stillness that settles over everything. The sound of the wind rustling through the trees is soft, like a lullaby, carrying the quiet promise of rest. The stars above, though distant, seem closer now, their light shining more brightly against the dark sky. There is a feeling of peace, of contentment, as if the world is resting before it begins its next cycle. The quiet of winter, though cold, brings with it a certain comfort. It is a time to reflect, to rest, and to allow the earth and ourselves to gather strength for the next season. Winter teaches us to slow down, to reflect, and to trust in the rhythm of life. Though we may not see the growth, the movement, or the change, it is always there, quietly preparing for the time when it will re-emerge. In this quiet stillness, we find peace, knowing that everything has its time, and that after every winter, there will always be the promise of spring.